It's strange looking in as well, like because we've obviously been following football a long time, but United have always been there, and even when they've not been challenged. Oh, really? Oh, can we make a start? Yeah, nice one.
Well, the producer's knocking on the window telling us to make a start.
That's fucking class. All right, Chris, will just crack on with that.
We've turned it into the football podcast again.
It feels weird without him being here, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we're cheating on him a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel really naughty now, like because this is the first time he's not been in the room when we've been recording. Could say anything, couldn't we?
Is he on the phone? Can I just get a microphone and just put it to the window?
Yeah. I bet he's on the phone to Clarkson, isn't he?
Yeah, he's desperate to get a move on, I think. And he's like, get started.
So just for clarity, Chris is off to film Clarkson's farm straight after this, so I think he's wanting us out of his house, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, Clarkson can wait. This is the...
This is the fucking priority, mate.
This is the true talent. Same thing happens every week on that farm. A pig or cow dies and then he cries a bit, wastes a load of money, and then everyone goes home.
Maybe he needs me to go around and just have a look at his cows for him.
Yeah. Maybe that's why Chris was up for this. He's got a cow fetish.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what he's on the phone for now. Maybe he's suggesting me to come round and help Clarkson out. Maybe that's what it is. We've both got cow stories. Perhaps it could be of use. Yeah. You never know. Anyway, let's make a start. Welcome to the RUNcensored Podcast with me, Ben Mounser, and Gary House. Today we are in pastures new. We are in your hometown, Gary, of Llandegla. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, Llandegla. Yeah, not quite a town, mate. Village, I'd put it. But,
it's a very quaint village. It's beautiful, actually, isn't it? We're not in the house. We're in Casa del Chris. Beautiful setting. Really nice setup. I think this is probably going to be a regular. We might switch home and away fixtures for both of us.
Yeah.
But I felt like I needed to make a bit of effort. You know, the last few weeks and months I've been talking a lot about myself, been quite selfish. So this is me giving back to you guys, part of my New Year's resolution, really.
Definitely, yeah. Well, March, you've started well, so...
Yeah, I've got there. It took me a while to get going, didn't it? I'm a slow starter.
I like making the trip up, but obviously Chris has got all the lovely kit and everything to look around, and we're on a schedule today. So thanks to Ben for coming down, making the trip after a long journey yesterday as well that we'll touch on.
Yeah, I mean, this episode is going to be all about Trans Gran Canaria. We were both there this year in different capacities, both raced as well, both spent some time together. So today's episode is going to be focused on that, a recap of it and how the races went, and we've got some stories from people that were there. But I suppose it's probably a good place to start almost back to front, because we've been pretty busy since TGC, haven't we? So what have you been up to since you've got back? Because it's been a manic week, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're a week on now since I left the island, I guess, and I went straight from Trans Gran Canaria to Centre Parks with the family.
That's Chris's phone. You know, that's his drugs phone going now. He's on the phone outside to Clarkson, and his other phone's going now. We should probably answer, shouldn't we? Or should we just let it go? This is why we need him here to moderate. Yeah, get it. Yeah. He leaves us for 2 minutes, and this what happens. It all goes to shit, doesn't it? He didn't bank on this, did he? Definitely not my phone. No idea. Where would you hide a drugs phone? Who has 2 phones? Anyway, it's gone now, hasn't it? Yeah.
Right, sorry about that. We couldn't find Chris's drugs phone, but
he's gonna have to wait in it for his next drop.
Monday mornings, obviously.
Customers are gonna have to work
in Llandegla for the old.
Can maybe drop some stuff on the way home for him if he wants.
Yeah.
So sorry, Gary. Where were you? You coming back from TGC?
So I landed down south in London. I'd flown from James Elson's place, so was easy to get in and out of. Plus, we ended up down south, which meant that if we went to Centre Parks down south, they're not in half term while we were, so half the price.
That's good thinking.
For Centre Parks, which I didn't realise was a thing until we started looking around, to be honest. So, yeah, half the price. I don't mind a bit of an extra
Always
long drive.
Always saving money. Yeah, I'm proud of you. That's forward planning.
Yeah, I did think it'd be a relaxing trip, but I was straight in there with aquajetting. at 7 a.m, which, you know, it was good to see the kids and everything, and they were obviously keen to see me, so we just went straight into it. Yeah.
So you got back in after the casino, which we'll talk about
Yeah.
later. But you got back in from the casino at about 2:30 in the morning on Monday morning,
Yeah.
and then you flew.
Flew just after lunch, and then short story short, because I had to get from Gatwick to James's on the train. Drove from James's house about an hour and 10 to Elvedon Centre Parks. Got there at 9 p.m.
Mate,
So yeah,
rockstar lifestyle. Yeah,
Gran Canaria Casino till 2:30, and then Centre Parks
off the back of the
9 p.m.
classic race as well,
Yeah.
and then you're straight in doing the kids' activities.
Yeah,
and
you know, mate. Like I said, man of the people. I can't be just taking days off for myself.
got a lot of people to please, aren't you, mate? Keep happy.
No, it was good that way though. So they'd already made the trip down, and I met them there. It just made sense being on half term. Nice break for them.
Did you manage to have a little bit of time relaxing? Like, because it's big effort doing the first race back, classic, which we'll talk about. But
yeah.
how have you been holding up?
We've never done Centre Parks before, and the kids are a little bit older now, so they're 7 and 9. Well, 8 and 9. I've got to pretend that Wilder was 8 to do the aquajetting. So he was wandering around Centre Parks, Billy Big Bollocks, like, I'm 8, telling everyone I'm 8. But he's aquajetting, for those that don't know, because I didn't know, it's like a underwater jet ski is the best way to describe it. You know, like those James Bond things where you just hold on to it and it's like a big propeller.
And it just kind of pulls you along.
And it pulls you along. So good bit of kit, to be honest.
That sounds great.
But the only slots available were 7:20 the next morning. Apart from that early wake-up call, it was relaxing, but full on at the same time, because
could have probably done with a couple of days
entertaining the kids. I shouldn't really say this, but there was a couple of hours where it hammered it down with rain, so we adjusted our plans a little bit, and we just sat in the little house, and they did some colouring and drawing, and I caught up on a little bit of work, just sat on the sofa, and that was the first time I'd stopped for 5-6 days, I think.
Oh, it's nice, isn't it?
It was nice, yeah, and that gave me every night that I had a better sleep, and obviously, and the aches and pains eased, and it was it was good. It was really good.
Straight back into normal everyday life, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think it's important. I think like because those trips, we talk about taking the family sometimes, and in the past when they were a lot younger, I have done, but when it's a mixture, sometimes it's like a mixture of work and doing those trips, like you'll know. I think it's important just I try and keep them to a minimum, and I keep the time to a minimum. So then when I'm back and I'm dad, and that's it.
Yeah, you got to have that separation.
And a bit like you're the same. You're back and you're at work. And it's like you can't take extra days here and now. Otherwise, I wouldn't get the opportunity to do these trips.
They've got to work around normal everyday life, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Welcome back.
Yeah,
your phone's been going.
Your drugs phone's been going off, mate. Yeah, so if you need me to do any drops on the way home, I can.
He's been outside doing deals. This phone's been going off.
I knew I asked 2 phones.
What phone's been going off?
Some other phone, mate. It's been going off.
Oh, I don't know. Sorry, it's a busy time in the drone world at the moment. The sun's come out and everybody seems to want a drone at the moment.
Yeah. There's already been 3 knocks on the doors from people asking for a packet.
Hey, I'm letting you use my house. Yeah. Come on, let's have some decorum here.
He's the Kaiser Soze of Llandegla. I had a similar experience though, like to you. I was kind of straight back to it, and I flew back the day after. It was ironically it was the evening night of the biggest game of the season as well, Leeds versus Sheffield United at Sheffield United. So a big game. Missed it because I was on the plane, and I was honestly desperate to find out the score. And the plane had been delayed as well, so I didn't even know anything, didn't see the start. And as we were kind of flying into Manchester, I'll be honest with you, it's a bit naughty. I switched my airplane mode off just to try and get any kind of crumb of signal I could. And before we'd even landed, I knew the score. Everybody on the plane knew the score because I was screaming with delight. I'd even watched the highlights before we'd touched down, buzzing. Obviously, Leeds won, so that was a great start back.
3-1, 3-0?
It was in the end 3-1, yeah.
3-1.
So we scored 2 goals in the last couple of minutes, so absolutely buzzing that. So it was a great start back, but I didn't get home till like 2:30 in the morning, and I was back in the office at like 8:30 in the morning, so I was straight back to it, and then full week of work So no real kind
You
of
can't moan in the office
recovery
because
and
you've just been to Gran Canaria.
Exactly. And everyone just thinks he's been to Gran Canaria, he's had 6 days laying on a sunbed. And in reality, we know it's different. I mean, it's ace being out there. I'm not getting any violin out here because it's incredible being in a different country, working and racing, and that's the lifestyle we've chosen, isn't it? But it's full on that week, isn't it?
It was full on. It was probably not more full on than I expected because you could make it a little bit less full on.
Yeah, true.
To be honest, but it was. Yeah, the bottom line was it was full on. So it was. But it was good to see everyone out there and meet up with people and then support other people at other bits and bobs that we'll go through and stuff. So that's what made it full on. And you're putting out content and stuff. It'll be good to talk through it, to be honest, because I haven't had a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like whirlwind. And then this weekend...
No one's interested at home.
I mean, this last weekend, should I say, we're on Monday now, I could have done with just like resting up, but I had to actually go off again to France to get Luna's passport updated. Well, actually, no, to get her a rabies jab to keep her passport in check because she's got a European passport. So I've literally just got back last night from France and it's been a whirlwind. So, but great weekend in Dunkirk. By the way,
I was going to say, you just went out and got that done, or did you hang around?
Well, yeah. So I drove down after work on Thursday night, booked Friday off. She got the jab done on Friday, and do you know when you think, oh, I've got to go and do that this weekend? I cannot be arsed.
Yeah.
But actually, it turned out to be an amazing weekend. And just a little plug for Dunkirk, because I don't know if you've been to Dunkirk before in France. It's near to Calais, as you probably know, and there's a lot of history there in terms of the war. It's a part of the world that's been like hammered for the wrong reasons over the last recent years with the World War II and everything, but it's actually an amazing place. And there's some,
good knowledge.
Yeah. There's a massive...
The History Channel.
There we go.
Recent years World War II. I think we know where you're going.
But there's an amazing beach there, is what I'm saying. And, you go back to Second World War where they were fighting on the beach. Now, there's kind of, there's clues that happened, but it's a totally different place now.
You can do the little tours, can't you, of those North France beaches and stuff. And I always fancied it, to be honest. I think a lot of rugby tours go that way as well.
Oh, you would never. Oh, I say it's probably a bad thing to say. You would never go to Dunkirk unless you had a reason to go to Dunkirk. And like the only reason I went is because last year when we were coming back from Europe, we sort of called for a night just next to the beach because I knew I looked on the map, it had a good beach for the dogs, and we just had an amazing time. So we went back there to get the jab topped up, and I tell you what, recommend just going for a weekend break there. Amazing food, great bars, massive beach for the dogs. I mean, if you surveyed 100 dogs, I can guarantee that 99 of them would say like that is the top dog destination for travel. They'd have to have been to Dunkirk, obviously. Yeah. Ask Les Dennis to do a survey, Family Fortunes. The dogs would come back with Dunkirk as the top answer. I can tell you right now. I mean, busy weekend and straight back to it, and we're here now to recap TGC. So, yeah, where should we start then, Gary? What was your experience at TGC? So when did you kind of land? Take me through your week in Gran Canaria.
Yeah, start to start, I guess. I won't go into the injury stuff or all that kind of stuff. We've covered that. So spoiler alert, I came in with the finisher jacket, didn't I? So we got it done, but it came up quite fast actually. So like the training wise, it's hard because I'm not really training specifically for that event. I'm just trying to get myself a little bit further down the line from that injury. So it got to a point where I could run and hike for 2.5 hours. But when I got to that point, then all of a sudden we're like 2 or 3 weeks out from Trans Gran Canaria. So do I push it a bit more in those few weeks, or do I just keep it chilled? And that's what I did. I just kept it chilled. The last thing I wanted was to go out with another little injury or something.
Yeah.
I push him a luck. But I've been doing a lot on the bike and Zwift racing with some friends, so I kept that intensity up on the bike up until a few days before, really. And just like the week went. I know you went out a day or two earlier than me, but I went out on the Thursday morning. So race started midnight Friday into Saturday. I went out, drove down to friend James Elson's house. Stayed over there, and we flew out of Stansted early that morning. That left us time to get there about 2:30. we had to get the hire car, which is always...
It's a ball ache, isn't it?
Forget how slow it is.
Oh, honestly, yeah, it is.
It's like you gotta meet Rodrigo or whatever the hell his name is. He's like next to the spa in the airport. Obviously, we've gone budget here. Yeah,
yeah, same. I had the same experience.
Yeah, so we had to meet him, and he's got a hat on, and he stood next to the TV screen anyway. So my first mistake was going into the spa, absolutely starving. I think I need to get some food on board, otherwise I'm going to go into Friday race day hungry. So I nipped in, and they've got these little pastries that look quite nice, about €1 or something. Picked up 2 of them, walked out, big chunk. I didn't know what they were, but like they can't go wrong in Spain usually, can you? Oh well, it's not.
I know what you mean.
In Gran Canaria,
yeah.
Big bite out of it, and it's tuna.
Oh,
so it's
God.
like we've just landed. It's 20 odd degrees. It's sunny. I'm hot. I'm sweaty, and I'm biting into this tuna pasty.
I'm with you on that. It's not very Greg's, is it? That
no. And then
it's not a steak bake, is it?
Yeah. Then we jumped onto the minibus to the hire car. And the plan was me and James were both going to be able to drive the car, but we got there and I realised that I'd left my driving licence in the glove box of my car at home.
That's not like Gary to forget anything, is it, Chris?
So yeah, there's a few things. Basically, I didn't have a credit card or even a bank card because usually Charlotte's got my cards. So I just went for the 5 or 6 days or whatever just with Apple Pay. No.
This is why we needed to take Chris to organisers, didn't we? Really?
Yeah, so that's all I had on me.
I mean, I followed along on Instagram, and eventually Gary's, what do you call them? Your dot thing or whatever, and it looked fabulous. And I'm quite up for it if you're going again.
Yeah.
Chris can organise a trip out. You can manage me and you because we need managing, don't we?
Yeah, well, luckily, I have a support crew, mini support crew. But
sorry to disrupt before I go on. So you're in the hire car place.
So yeah, obviously things take a little bit longer, don't we? But I'd been invited out by James and Centurion and World Trail Majors because I'd done some work helped them out on the social media side of things at the South Downs Way 100 last year, which is again coming up this year. It'll be a massive event. It's going to be the most competitive 100-miler in the UK this year. So if you're not aware of it, keep your eye out for it and even jump into it if that's your thing. But that's the whole that's when this plan started over a year ago, I guess now. And then so we went along to some of the World Trail Majors presentations on the Thursday, which was the elite presentation. They presented Courtney and, sorry, I don't know the other guy. I think he was Portuguese. Who'd won the series from the World Trail series from the year before. And it was right down on the front in Maspalomas, not too far from where you were staying. That's when I caught up with you. So that Thursday was basically get the hire car, check into the Airbnb, which was fun in itself.
So a single bed, didn't you? James booked that, did he?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you book it?
I booked the house. We booked it quite late, to be honest, but there was a nice, cheap enough option, so it looked nice, and it was a 2-bedroom, quiet location, shared pool, so we thought, right, let's have that. Got there, and there was only 1 bedroom. So when we looked, I said to James, look, there's definitely 2 beds put on there, isn't it? And he said, yeah. And then actually, when we looked at it, they'd taken the 1 bedroom and take 2 different photos and put a different bedspread and picture on the wall or something. So it did look...
It's clever marketing, isn't it?
Clever marketing, and technically it is 2 bed because you had a pull-out bed in the living room.
Love it.
But for all intents and purposes, we thought we were getting 2 bedrooms, and it was 2 single beds pushed together. So when you put on who was coming, it was 2 people.
Do you have a bathroom or just like a bucket in the corner to piss
Had
in?
a bathroom and everything. It was lovely, to be honest, and we were fine, and James was happy on the sofa. Comfy sofa for him. I had bigger fish to fry, didn't I? So
yeah, you've got to look after the main man.
Yeah. But it was funny because I messaged the woman. I said, is there any sheets for the spare bed? Because she said...
I pissed the bed.
You said... And she just... Mary just text back saying... It had 2 people listed, so it's set up for 2 people. I said, yeah, 2 people, but then we're not sharing. So she just thought we were a couple, obviously, which is fine, but we weren't. So can we have some sheets, please? Anyway, we did. In the end, James made do, and Yeah, I had the bedroom and he was comfy enough, I think.
Fair enough. Going back to your rent-a-car though, like I think the queue for the rent-a-car takes longer than the 4-hour flight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Don't half eat into your trip, does it? Because we had a similar experience, although I pulled a winning move because we were last on to the kind of bus, the shuttle bus going from the airport to the rent-a-car, and I was first off, straight in the queue. But the people that got off that bus last, honestly, I think they'll still be there queuing for the car.
Just that little mistake. And there was one guy trying to push in front of James, and James isn't like, you could see his face going if he tries to push in here.
You won't message him, would you? The Elcinator.
There was two guys on the desk, but one queue. But this guy had decided, I'm going to make a separate queue for that separate person. It's like, no, that's not how it works. There's one queue here. You've seen everyone get off the bus, like you said.
Yeah.
Just stand in the queue. So James nipped in. It was. So we got there in the end. Yeah, you're right. It's just, when you're stood in one of those places for like an hour or something.
And when it starts eating into your time, because time is precious when you're away like that, especially when you've got a race coming up and you've got a lot on and it's a hectic event sort of calendar that week.
It's not a big ask. It's like all the forms that we did, James had already done, so he's just doing everything again. And you could tell he was losing it a little bit. But obviously, you get in the car and it's all right. And we got down, and so James had some responsibilities meeting some of the other RDs from like the South Africa race, Japan, and all the other World Trail majors. So I was basically his plus one. So technically, I suppose we should have been in one bed maybe, but but yeah, it was good to be around that, to be honest, because sometimes if I go to those races, because it's all a bit disjointed, isn't it? Like the elite presentation and stuff like that. No. It's not because I don't enjoy it. It's just doing something else, aren't you?
Yeah, it's quite nice being involved and seeing how it all.
But it was quite nice, and it was good to see James. Because it was good to see James, and like as an RD, obviously now it really hit home to me how big it is for like his race at Centurion to be part of the World Trail majors and stuff.
Yeah,
because they are trying to do good things. So it was just good to see them put on a show basically. And then I think we just went for pizza after that Thursday night. Kept it quite chilled, I think. And then we went to see you. Was it Thursday night? Yeah.
So we got there on Tuesday actually, but met you Thursday. But I mean, my involvement with the race again similar to last year was with Sports Shoes and the North Face. So the North Face now are the major sponsors of the event. And I'd have to say they've done an amazing job.
They do a good job of getting it
really,
out there,
really
don't
good
they?
job. Yeah, I mean, obviously the branding's all there, but they've invested a lot of money into making that event what it is, and I think they've taken it to not just the next level, like the next level again this year.
So some of the little bits of it was really good because any brand can just throw money at those things, but I did feel like North Face had made an effort in terms of how things look or little setups here and there, and it was really good, to be honest. Everything from the expo, which was, for some people it's in your face and everything, but they also set up. It was quite interesting to see how North Face had done it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think they put a lot on for the people that are there and doing the race. So you've got kind of the shoe tests, you've got athlete talks, you've got the presentations, and all these things going on and around the actual race itself. It makes it a much better experience, doesn't it? So if you're there for a week, you've got lots to enjoy, really.
Like wandering. Me and James were late trying to get our bags and stuff at the expo, trying to register in time for his, I think, more than anything. And you wander out and there's Zach Miller doing a talk and everything. For people that are just, especially for people on the island, I guess, as well. That
it's a huge deal,
some of these athletes coming and giving their time to do a chat.
These are world-class athletes, aren't they? And to be so close and have them so accessible is quite a coup, really. And, I've had a lot of experience working at UTMB and with UTMB. And although I love that event, it's difficult to manage that relationship and work with them because there's so many
either so busy or it's not accessible for people. It's like you're almost doing separately, aren't you?
Yeah, and there's so much red tape with UTMB and those events. But actually, it's the opposite with Trans Gran Canaria. Honestly, it's the best event I've ever worked with in terms of how easy it is to access the media files, get the press releases, because this is part of what I was there to do last week. I was there with a team of 7 people. We were all doing different races. I had to manage the logistics to get into each race. We had 2 hire cars, which was double queuing in the rent-a-car place, which wasn't easy. But then also I'm managing the content and what we're shooting and how that goes out on the website and the socials. But actually working with Trans Gran Canaria as an event amazing. They just do it right because they want people to go to Gran Canaria. They want people to do the race, and it's really friendly and welcoming, isn't it? If you're thinking about doing a big event abroad, I would say this is one of the best ones to do. Time of the year is great because it's a bit of winter sun, but also there's a race for everybody from VK right up to the classic race, isn't there? So seven races now at that event, isn't there?
I think so, yeah. I had a quick look before.
Got the VK, the half marathon, the VK, the promo, which is what Tom did, the half marathon, which is what I did, the marathon, the classic, the advanced, and then there's also some kids races on now, which was great. And just a shout out to Trail Fam, which is a group, the community group that I've been working with as well. As I think James has probably had a bit of involvement there as well, and I know Robbie certainly has.
They were meant to give me a chair, I think, but I think I was too late by the
time. well, Danny, who runs that whole Trail Fam kind of community, he's all about getting young kids active, inspired, and they took a group of young people out to race at the event in like a kids race, didn't they? But it's like a first taste of trail running, but on like a
it looks great what they're
platform.
Doing. Like I know this is probably a separate chat, but like Robbie has told me about what they've been up to and stuff, and just taking those kids to some of the locations they've been, even when it's Snowdonia and stuff.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Good.
And they get to see like you said, the Zach Millers of the world running, and the Courtneys. I mean, she wasn't racing this time, but that level of athlete, and I think it's really inspiring. So yeah, great work there, Danny and the team that are doing at Trail Fam. So I just thought I'd give them a shout. But yeah, my experience this year was slightly different to yours. I was there with a team, but we were both racing, which is nice. I always like to combine the work trips with a little bit of pleasure, although it's a pretty full-on week. One thing that I did want to talk about and mention, because if you are going to go to if you are going to go to Gran Canaria to do TGC, it's hard to get around the island, isn't it? I mean, you do need the hire car.
You do need a car, yeah.
I think you need a hire car.
Last time I was there was like, I said to you 13, 14, 15 years ago with Charlotte, and it was down on Playa del Ingles, and you didn't need a car then. You just stagger to the bars and stagger back. But I quickly realised, you do need a car.
Because once you get into that interior from Maspalomas or from the top end of the island, it's really mountainous, and to travel 30 miles takes like 2 hours, doesn't it?
I don't know.
I can tell you it does, honestly,
I was on foot.
Yeah.
But I know from going because we went from the finish to the start, was what, 45 minutes in the car? So it's not actually, when you skirt round
around the island
to the top,
it's easy, isn't it?
It's easy. It's like you said, once you start getting up into the hills, I know we had some reports of people like stopping the car and feeling sick and stuff just because of the nature of the road. So if you want to get into the hills, you definitely need a car. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And every single race, apart from the VK where you would drive round to where you said to get to the start of the classic and also to the advanced, that's probably the easiest to get to. But everything else comes through the interior, so you have to drive into there for the starts or the finishes, and it takes ages. I mean, I probably did about 4 to 6 hours some days in the car, just getting athletes like to the start lines and to the back to the finish then. But anyway, going back to you, because I want to start and focus mostly on your race, because it was a big moment for you, wasn't it?
We'll go with you, because let's do it time-wise, because me and Ben, I think we had a beer Thursday evening, but that was it, because you had the marathon on the Friday, didn't you?
Yeah, so
early start for that. And I know it was an early start because the plan was to have a nice lie-in, take a nice chilled morning, because obviously I had the midnight start line, but James was with me. He was doing the marathon. So his wake-up time was a lot earlier. He was driving and picking up a couple of the RDs along the way. So he was up and out by like 6 a.m. And we quickly realised we were in like a gated community. So he couldn't leave with the key. So we realised, I'm going to have to get up and basically walk him out, and just to shut the door and then get back in bed. I did get another hour, but it's not the same, is it, as having a lie-in?
It's broken sleep, isn't it?
Yeah, so I did have a nice lazy morning, but it was like, for you lot doing the marathon, it was an early start, wasn't it?
Oh, definitely. And even before that, we had to get Kirsty to the VK, but we'd done a shoot in the morning, so we came back, then took her to the VK, then drove right back again. Then the next day, we had the promo and the half, so Tom needed dropping off, I needed dropping off, Katie, who was racing for the sports team, needed dropping off as well. And then you're doing your race. And I'll be honest, like, even though I was racing, I'd not really thought about it until about an hour before the race because I was that busy looking after everybody else. You kind of neglect yourself in those situations. So I didn't feel like I prepared well at all. And I had a bit of a shocker, if I'm totally honest. I think, that Dave Brailsford's got that saying, the sum of marginal gains. I think for me, it was like the sum of marginal fails. I just didn't prepare well, absolutely died a death in the heat. I ended up throwing up during the race and I had to run to the toilet at the end. It was a sufferfest, a proper sufferfest. And, my race was just over like 2 hours and you can just about hang on for 2 hours. But when you start having a bad day in the longer races, I mean, that's catastrophic, isn't it? And we'll touch upon more of that I'm not saying you had a catastrophic race, but you'll have gone through a lot more highs and lows than I went through. So I could, although I had a bad race, I'm only suffering for 2 hours and then I finished, you know what I mean? But it wasn't a great experience for me, I'll be totally honest, even though it's an amazing route. So I don't want to not sell the race because it's a great race. It's just bad prep.
What was yours?
Part.
Yours was essentially one climb and then the downhill section?
The half marathon that I did, it packs the most punch in terms of elevation compared to distance. So you've got essentially like 1,300 foot of climb in half marathon distance, and I think the marathon in comparison is like 1,700 foot, but double the distance. So you've got a really big pull from starts in Tunte and then it finishes in Tejeda, which is where a lot of the races go through Tejeda. It's a beautiful little town. So great place just to be around. Even if you're not racing, if you're spectating, it's fantastic. But it was so hot, and that first climb, I just overcooked it, and not just with the heat, but just kind of the effort level. I think you've got to manage those effort levels on a race like that. And I got not a bit carried away, but I probably was on that red line and just crossed over it a bit too early. So after that, I was really suffering. I was just hanging in. I was like desperate for the end, to be honest. I
remember seeing you afterwards, and it was like, how'd you get on? You're like, didn't push it too much. It's still a good result, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was still a good result, but I think you just set yourself expectations, don't you? And I'll be honest, I find it hard now I can't reach the levels I used to reach, and I've always, because you've been there, you sort of want to be somewhere close, and I'm under no illusion I'm not going to be, running the times I was running 10 years ago, but still, you sort of, like, I think I was top 15 last year, and I mean the quality has gone up another notch, and you're racing against professionals at the end of the day. So I was 33rd and 5th vet out of over 1,000 people, which is is a really good result, but I put pressure on myself to do a lot better.
Considering you're chundering and
I mean, I just had to manage it and had to really dial it back in and just try and get round, if I'm totally honest. And then the rest of the week then was looking after everybody else. So getting people to the marathon start, getting people, to the advanced, and then coming to see you at the classic was a big highlight for me. So, driving up to the top end of the island and watching the start of that race, it's quite special. Like, not just because you were involved, but that added to it. But just because it's great starting on the beach, isn't it?
I'd underestimated how big that town was. Shout out Las Palmas. There you go. So I'm
liking that football top, by the way.
If you want to get in with the locals, this is the top to get, I think.
Did you get a lot of attention from that top?
At the marathon day, we were hanging around the finish, and all the vendors were like.
I should just say for the people listening to this and not watching, Gary's wearing a Gran Canaria football top, pretty retro.
Can I chip in? Because to me, that looks like a Tottenham shirt. Tottenham did yellow and were made by Hummel, weren't they?
You'll have got it cheap, won't you, if it was a... Yeah.
Do you think that's what...
Maybe they thought it was Tottenham. Did you get it in a charity shop?
No, it was cheap.
It does look very, very much like an old school Tottenham shirt, but yeah, you've got some
Sheffield United lad plays for these.
Oh, really?
Funny enough, yeah.
Is that right?
I can't remember his name. But yeah, I did find out afterwards. Yeah.
Nice one.
Which is a bit random, isn't it? Yeah. I think he's Scottish. I might be doing him in just... But yeah, anyway. So I had this on just to show support at the finish line, but actually this is where they started the race, and I just underestimated how I thought we'd turn up to a little village at the top of Gran Canaria. So when James was driving a couple of us up, I managed to skip the bus and we drove up, trying to find a parking space down those little alleyways was so funny, and there's no way I could have parallel parked like James did. It was it was quite
impressive. Was it?
It was quite impressive, yeah. But part impressive, part I think disregard for the hire car. Will might say just threw it in, yeah, in like we just need to get in somewhere, and it was because
it's a really busy town, isn't it?
well, the organisers obviously had said to James, there's a meal on and stuff from 9 p.m.
Yeah.
So that's what we were going up for, and so by 9:45 we were there, and it was. We were expecting to go into a restaurant and have some food, so I thought I'll just have some potatoes or something while we sit there. But rather than sit on the bus, I'll go up with you because
that was my interpretation of it as well. I was told we were getting a meal because I was there in a slightly different capacity, obviously with Sports of the North Face coming in as a guest of the same meal.
I think it was meant to be at a restaurant originally because the guy who took us, who was from World Trail Majors, took us to a restaurant right at the end of the beach, basically, the other end. And we walked in, and the guy didn't know anything of it, and we're like wandering in, thinking we're going to see all these people, and obviously it wasn't. And eventually we found the North Face flags and found you lot, and that's it. It was essentially like a little. There was a DJ on, canapes. It was like
a
atmosphere.
Party on the beach, wasn't it?
Like a little party, and people having beers and stuff. And I'm thinking, oh my god, this is not the place to be, because I'm like, I've got to do like this event that. Was I didn't know what was going to happen anyway, but I was like sat having little mini burgers and stuff.
I was
that close to having a beer. It's just because it was such
tempting.
a good atmosphere.
You stood around as well with me, James, Kirsty, Tom, Rich Gill, and we're all a few beers deep, aren't we? And it must have been a difficult start for you, that, because essentially we're like on almost like a beach party, and all the branding's up, and you've got the gantry and everything, and the music's playing, and it's at night, and all the lights on.
It was such a random atmosphere to be in. It was amazing, considering what I was about to do, and the start time at midnight, and then all the runners descended out of the buses and stuff, which made it feel slightly more normal, but still, it was. I really enjoyed that hour and a half before the race, to be honest, because it was. Yeah, I don't. Before one of those long races, once I've got my kit on, it's like, right, let's go.
Yeah.
Essentially, but it was just nice to chill out and relax and be. Like you sat out in a t-shirt and it's 11 o'clock at night. It's not like you're freezing on a start line waiting for the gun to go.
Exactly. And it went quick because we were having a good crack as well, weren't we? We were kind of sat around, and even though you weren't drinking, we were just having a bit of chat. And I think it probably took the pressure off a little bit and the nerves, because look, you must have been quite nervous about that race, with it being the first one back, because I know I could tell you were thinking about it a lot. You wanted to just finish, didn't you, at the end of the day?
Yeah.
So how were you feeling before? Because you must have been nervous.
Yeah, I was trying to like. It was weird because I always give the same advice. Like, if you're feeling nervous, it's a good thing, and sometimes people get it confused with excitement and stuff like this. It's like the same physical response when I'm excited to when you're nervous. So I always say, just tell yourself that you're getting excited, even if it is nerves. Yeah. It's when it tips into being a bit overwhelming, I think people struggle.
Yeah.
I never felt like that. It was just, it's been a very long time since I've raced, obviously, number one. But it's been even longer. I don't know how long since I wasn't sure if I was capable of doing something.
Yeah.
Every race for the past 10 years, I know I'm capable of finishing. Yeah. So the only pressure you put on yourself is how well you want to do in the race.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. I had no idea past 3 or 4 hours what was going to happen. So if anything, the nerves, I didn't have nerves before the race. I was really looking forward to just getting going. What I will say is, in those first kilometres, all of a sudden I did start feeling nervous, because I was like, oh shit, we are actually going now. That's it, we're gone. And it obviously, all the build up to the race was great and everything. I took myself to the back of the queue, which was probably the right thing, but I just didn't know where to stand, because I'll be honest, I don't usually stand at the back, but I'm not usually on the front row either. But a race like that had a kilometre on the beach and then probably 5 kilometres down the flat promenade, that gives you time to get into a good rhythm and run. Whereas for me, it was like, I can't burn any matches here at all. You
were going in with a different mindset for this one, weren't you? With it being the first one back, it was more about just finishing. And it wasn't about a time as such, was it? And it wasn't about, trying to be as competitive as what you normally would have been, pre-injury.
And energy-wise, I knew I'd kind of be okay. As in energy in terms of fueling to a certain degree. Energy in the just the calf and the nerve damage, had no idea. So if I ran a little bit faster on that flat tarmac for 5K, if I ran my fastest 5K now on tarmac, I'd be out of juice, kind of thing in that leg. So it was just an odd situation to be in. I found myself probably overthinking about it. So you do 5K or whatever it is on the flat, then you do a gradual climb up. And for me, it would have been a runnable climb, even if it was that kind of race. Yeah, you'd have been pushing a bit, but it was runnable, and then you're over the top, and it's a downhill. But I was hiking a bit, and then I was walking, and then I did do a little bit of jogging up, and I was just, to be honest, I just didn't know what to do. Because what I was doing is trying to hold back, but then me holding back, I'm in with people that are like walking up the hill, and I thought, this doesn't feel right either. Then I run a bit, and I could easily run up a bit, but I was like, I don't know, I don't want to knock my leg out. And it was just the first couple of hours, I think the first 2 or 3 hours, I was not overthinking it. I just didn't know what to do. So went over the first climb, and there's like a gradual downhill, and everyone around me was finding it very tricky underfoot. But me and you being from the UK, it was runnable. So I'm stuck in this long line of people. I'm walking now, and I've only been going an hour. So I just ran past them and through like a riverbed, and I felt a bit more comfortable then. I thought, if I can't just walk it all,
Yeah.
I can't just save up too much energy.
Was part of your thinking as well, and this is going to be my next question for you, like you're starting at midnight, and it was a nice temperature at midnight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you're running through the rest of the night and then going into what is essentially going to be a really hot day. So was part of you also thinking, I want to try and get as much running done early on to try and get that nice kind of temperature?
At first, no, to be honest. But then after a couple of hours, and I thought, I'm still in. Maybe I was thinking the wrong way, but I just thought, I'm in the wrong group of people here. They're walking at every chance they get, and I could run this bit, but am I saving myself too much, or should I just be pushing on? Got to the point where I just, like, there was some fun bits of downhill or some fun bits of trail I wanted to run on, but just couldn't because I was stuck in a conga line. And that's just how it was back then. So maybe it did me a favour, but I don't think it did, if I'm honest. I was much better once I just started hopping through a little bit. And I still walked the climbs that were probably runnable for me early on. But what I did do is start just putting a bit more effort in. Because like you say, what I quickly started thinking, I was like, it's going to get warm in like 4 or 5 hours. Like 4 hours in, it felt like I'd just been jogging around. There's no stress, no nothing. Yeah. It was fun doing it, don't get me wrong, but I think my stress levels had increased rather than decreased because I was stressing myself out about how the leg was going to do. Once I got past the point where I'd gone further in training and stuff, and there was no ill effects, my feet were a bit sore and stuff, like they felt a little bit crampy, and it's just that kind of feeling. You've probably got it, like when early in a race things are just settling down, I think.
Yeah.
It took me a few hours to get into find a bit of a rhythm and find the right rhythm on the uphills and getting the poles out and all that kind of stuff. And I did put some effort in until the early morning because I just thought, I'm going to get to the hot bit and I've not put enough distance in here.
Yeah.
It did play on my mind a little bit that I should, now I feel okay. I'm just not banking time, but you're right. Like if I was fully fit in that race, I'd have attacked the night a bit more.
Yeah, and these are the questions that I'm asking because I'm not an ultra runner, and I'm just trying to think like how would I react in those situations and what would I do, because it's all new to me. It's all, I mean, the running I do and the running you do is totally different, which is why I think this podcast works really well. We've said that before. So how early were you on the poles as well? Because for me, I'd probably personally, not being that experienced, I'd be getting on them fairly early. Is that the case?
Again, I fell back on my own. Like usually for the people that I'm coaching in the mid-pack, say, I'm like, don't wait to get your poles out on these races. They're there to save you for later on, and they're there to give you some leverage. They're there to distribute some of the strength and power across your body. So get on it early, which is what I did. But it just felt a bit uncomfortable because I was getting the poles out early on when I was full of energy and didn't need them.
Yeah.
To be honest, it really struck me in those first couple of hours how runnable the course would be if I was couple of years ago, kind of thing. Yeah, so and that's not doing a disservice to everyone who struggled out there and stuff. It's just I'm a different person in terms of the leg at the minute. So I was just getting used to my own body and what I could do, what I couldn't do, like what gradients could I run, what gradients did I need to get the poles out. I'd say it took me about 5 hours, which sounds ridiculous. It took me the first 5 hours to really feel comfortable with what I was doing. Yeah. And then by then I had a few little aches and pains, not worrying aches and pains, just from being in a race again and having a few long descents in my legs and stuff. So that's ironically, when I started to relax, when I had some aches and pains from just running long and racing, that's when I was like, I think I'm all right here. I think I'm going to be okay, unless something catastrophic happens with the leg.
How are your pink shoes, by the way? Because I shafted Gary just before Gran Canaria. Not
We get
on purpose, really, but
No.
he basically said I'd send him some shoes because he'd done me a favour writing some stuff for me at work, and he'd asked for some Asics, which is what he likes. And the colourway from last season were kind of like a bright green. So these are the Meta Fuji. They're like the racing ultra distance shoe for trails for Asics.
Yeah.
Really, really nice shoe. But this season's colourway are pink and orange. And I didn't realise. I just sort of sent them to you. And then you sort of sent me a message back before you flew out and said, like, what the hell are these you just sent me?
I thought he's having me on. But so I had a pair of these out off the back of being out with Asics at UTMB, and I did really like them. So when when Ben said he'd supply me with some shoes, I said, like, be a bit of fun, wouldn't it, if you just choose the shoes and I'll wear them in Gran Canaria. I knew he wasn't going to give me a pair of flip-flops or something. But at the same time, then we came to the agreement. I said, those Asics ones I really liked, and when I had them, they were like lime green.
That's right.
Quite a nice colourway. And he sent me them, and I didn't even open the box until I think it was the day before I was flying to pack them in the bag, because I just stuck them in the hand luggage. When I opened them, I thought it was a joke. So they're not as bright pink now, but they're bright pink and orange. And
I didn't even realise when I sent them that they were pink either.
I was having a joke because I still like them. The colour doesn't matter to me, and I actually quite like the colour. But it was like, I'm not going to wear them on North Wales trails all the time. Maybe they suited Gran Canaria, and to answer your question, they held up. They held up well, yeah. So there's a carbon plate in them.
You need that on those trails because you mentioned it about the technical trails in parts out there, and it's hard ground as well, isn't it? It's aggressive ground. So you need a lot of cushioning. You need that plate for protection and stability. I had the same. I had a similar pair to this. I had the new North Face Summit Vective Pro, which is essentially, I suppose it's a comparable shoe, although mine are a little bit wider and a bit softer. But yeah, they're built for kind of those ultra distance trail.
Yeah, I was glad we went with that in the end, because in the past I would prefer like a lower profile, a bit more responsive shoe, one that I can twist and turn and stuff like that.
Throw yourself around a descent.
Yeah,
that's the problem when you're on a high stack, and we've talked about this before.
But I'd never really had a problem. But then I wasn't pushing myself. I think if banging on, but if I was a couple of years ago and I was a bit more aggressive on the downhills, I probably would have liked it to be a bit more low profile. I don't know. We'll never know, maybe. But what I did value is I underestimated how much hard ground there would be in that race. Yeah. In terms of concrete and just hard ground. So yeah, they did save my calf a bit, I think, because I did have some DOMs in the old calf, but nothing compared to if I'd have worn just a squishy shoe, I think. Yeah. So they held up. Didn't take them off once. I don't suffer from blisters. I got a little blood blister under my big toe, but that was from kicking a rock. So there was a bit of protection there, enough anyway.
I'll tell you one thing I noticed, Gary, and this is, again, me being almost like an ultra running virgin, but how many people after the first, let's say, 200 or 300 suffered in that race and actually didn't look like they were enjoying it? I'll be honest. Do people after those first few actually enjoy ultra running?
So I'm obviously going into these checkpoints quite early on in a group of people that are pushing themselves quite hard, and I'm as chilled as I can be. I was quite hot. I was sweating a lot, but apart from that, it's like I was just going in, having some cheese, having some ham, and I wasn't spending much time in the major checkpoints because I took it easy enough so that I didn't have to really just change my waters and stuff. But yeah, people having to push. It was good to see it, if I'm honest, and especially as a coach, because these people some of them are chasing cutoffs, and the cutoffs aren't generous in this race. I spoke to this. I've got two runners, athletes that were in the same race as me. Both of them, unfortunately, DNF'd. They're very capable, experienced runners. But I think there's a bit of a trap these days. So many UTMB events, and they're a bit more generous and lenient with their cutoff times. Yeah, part of the challenge of some of these races in ultras and mountains is the cutoffs, which I think people miss sometimes. And some people spend their lives just chasing the cutoffs, and so to see these people literally running in and having to shovel food down, and literally chasing cut-offs from quite early on, and the intensity seemed quite high. Some of them, like they say, they're being sick and they just don't look great.
No, it was like a scene out of The Walking Dead.
5 or 6. I'm talking the first 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah,
and they're going to be out there if they make it for 30 hours. So I'm thinking, yeah, I just didn't want to spend time around it, if I'm honest, because it was just so out of my, just not used to it, to be honest. Like you say, it was like carnage in the checkpoints, especially when we got to the where the 82K met with
Artenara, isn't it?
Yeah. So
where I saw you, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah, just after that. Yeah. So leading up to that, there's a long climb, and it's a long climb and a long descent into that one, and it kind of rolls around a little bit. But I'd misheard someone say that there was a checkpoint in 4K. So I basically I didn't have much water on me anyway, but I nailed the last bit of water thinking there's going to be a checkpoint in 30 minutes. It turned out to be, I think, like 14K or something.
It's a long time to
anyway,
go without water,
I ran dry for 2 to 3 hours, something like this.
Jeez.
My tongue felt like it was hanging out of me. I was not in a good place. I thought, hang on a minute, this could, if I don't get water soon.
Yeah.
And to give you an idea, like, it's a dead volcano. There was no natural water on the island.
It's not like a fell race where you got streams running next to it.
You can't. It's not like you can wet your heart. You can't drink the water anyway. It's every bit of water that you get, it comes from the checkpoints out of bottled water. They're constantly just refilling the big tubs. So to run dry that early before a checkpoint was quite worrying, actually, because I just had to really temper my effort. I can't remember his name. Well, Brit guy came through, and I'd seen him at a couple of checkpoints and said hello, and he'd said that there's a checkpoint soon or whatever, and I just had to let him go, just because I had to really. You
got to manage your effort at that point, hadn't you?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's game over, isn't it?
So I had quite a slow section getting in to see James for the first time. That was the first time I'd see my support crew, Elson, and at that point, what's that? 40K in, maybe a bit more.
Yeah, probably about 40K in, 45K in.
So I took a bit longer than expected to get down into there, but I just had to.
At that point, you'd be going about 12 hours. It was about 12:30 when you came in, so just up maybe 12, 13 hours when I saw you in.
Yeah, how long it took me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I got into that checkpoint feeling okay, but I just had to have a couple of hours of really, like, you push, it's like even in the short races, if you push beyond it, then you are out the race.
Yeah.
I just had to keep it really chilled. I actually asked a hiker for some water. She said no.
Did she actually?
Yeah. A German lady. Just because I saw her sucking on the bloody tube out of her pack. And I was like...
She obviously doesn't follow you then, does she? Should have given you the
probably
the
does,
bladder,
that's right. I would never usually ask, but I was...
desperate.
I was desperate. I was on thinking...
That's when you know it's
and now I've completely lost the plot in terms of where is the checkpoint.
But it must start playing havoc, like, mentally as well, because you still got a long way to go.
Because I want to get there quicker so I can get water, but also if I try and get there quicker, I could end up just blowing up completely.
Yeah.
So anyway, got into that checkpoint, and it was manic. Because obviously that's where the two races meet, and it was like an assault on the senses because I've been out on my own through the night and everything. Luckily, James was there, and he's obviously very experienced. He's set himself up where the support crews are under cover. And I just said I need to get rehydrated. That's the first time I sat down and I just had to have a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But what I'm quite good at is if I'm sitting down and I'm taking on fluids, I'm gonna take the opportunity to take on food. So I think I had a bowl of pasta there. I had other bits of food because again, it's a new experience for me fueling wise because I'm usually trying to maximize the gels and I'm at quite high intensity. Whereas this time, the intensity was a bit lower. But I'm obviously out for a long time, so I was chucking food down me, but I had a proper sit down now, I'd say, and he got the ice bandana on, cooled me down, and saw some people I knew in that checkpoint, and that one was carnage, because you had, at that point, I think there was a lot of people struggled in the heat at that point in my race, but you're obviously meeting people in the other race.
Yeah. Who've not been running as long.
But still done a good effort. Yeah. And it was just
It's like a war zone.
Yeah.
Like I likened it to that opening scene from Saving Private Ryan, where they're all on the beach and they're like bodies everywhere. And
yeah. There's a real mix because you've got indoors, which is where everyone's filling up their stuff and they're eating, and it's like a bun fight trying to get food because it's just chaos. And I don't know. From a runner, it seemed like they didn't have enough like water and Coke and stuff like that available because I think they had like 3 tubs, but they've got 2 races coming in.
It's a bit more, don't you?
Anyway, it was just people lying on the floor at this point, and people obviously taking the pin number off and things. It's like, and apart from the dehydration, I was all right.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorted myself with James, had a good chat, and then on the hike out, I saw you.
Oh,
which was another good like bit of raise my spirits again.
Yeah, when you see people on the course, I'm not just saying me, but like specifically, but when you're seeing your mates out there on the course, it must uplift, like really give you
this time it did,
boost.
yeah, because like I say, it was an adventure. I was just trying to get to the finish, so to have people out there at different times, it was great knowing like I'd gone that far without support crew on purpose because James had been at the start like you were. He had to do a bit of driving afterwards, so it made sense for him to go back, have some hours sleep and do his stuff, and then come out for me for like midday the next day where I'd probably need it.
Yeah.
So between the 2 experiences, I think it worked really well. If he'd have stayed and tried to crew me through the night when I didn't need him, he'd be knackered. It just worked really well. And then seeing you on the hill and Kirsty, and then and seeing some people in the race actually that just passed each other was really good. And then later on, saw Rich and Tom, which we'll probably come to as well.
Well, that section after I saw you, because I'd run it out and back, and I saw you on the way back in, but it's from Artenara, and that's an amazing section of the race.
It was really good. And
beautiful, isn't it?
Like,
probably can't appreciate it, can
I wasn't
you, when you're in that state?
No, I really did at that point, because I'd had a couple of hours feeling really ropey just through my own error of necking that water and stuff. And I probably should have left with a bit more water, but like small mistake. But after that, and I felt a bit more, it took me a while to get going, so which is why it was good to just hike up with you, because it took my mind off it, and it was probably 20 minutes or something chatting to you.
Yeah, it's nice.
But after I left you, I was able to push on a bit, but what I did feel all of a sudden is I felt really sleepy.
Yeah.
So my weird situation, energy level fine, strength fine, but my eyes were just dropping. So I've been there before, because at that point, remember, like I'd woke up to let James out at 6. I didn't really get some sleep in the day, and that was like, so that's already 30 hours without having any sleep.
Your body does catch up with you.
And I've only been in the race 12 hours.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'm just going to nip it in the bud. So I went off, higher up on that trail, it's all like soft pine needles and stuff. It just looked way too inviting. So I took myself off behind a tree, set an alarm for 15 minutes, lie down on my pack, which I've done before. And I give myself a minute. If I fall asleep in that minute, I obviously needed it. If I don't, and I just lie there fidgeting, I just get up and go.
Yeah.
I literally set the alarm, and the next thing I know, I got woken up by the sun coming out of the trees and blinding
so it
me.
moved a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I looked at the time, and it was 12 and a half minutes. I'd been asleep, gone.
Wow.
And what happens is, without going too deep, you get like a build-up of adenosine, it is. So that droopy feeling, a bit like when you're driving and stuff. You just need to drain it. You need to like, that's the wrong word, but you just need to dissipate.
Yeah.
So you don't need lots of sleep. A lot of the time, you just need that build-up of adenosine to go.
Because they do say, is it like for a power nap, just generally, any more than 15, 20 minutes is actually detrimental, isn't it?
And you don't want to feel groggy and stuff.
No.
So I woke up after that 12 minutes, literally chucked my bag on, and I was hiking with purpose. Then.
You probably made the time that you'd lost sleeping on as well.
100%.
Like,
so that 12 minutes, technically I lost. But people will spend longer than that sat in a checkpoint.
Yeah.
I felt so much better, and James was at the top of the mountain then. And it was like you say, beautiful going up there.
Yeah.
I had loads of energy going up. I got to the top of there, feeling really good, ran into the checkpoint, all this stuff. It was such a good section in terms of got rehydrated, had a nap, saw you, ran into James. I was like, I think it's game on now in terms of just finishing the race.
Yeah. Did you feel at that point, and that was going to be my next question, like that you would finish it at that point?
Yeah. That section from that checkpoint to there,
even
though I was, again, it's hard to, all I had on my watch for the whole thing was the profile and how long I'd been going.
Yeah.
Obviously I knew the time of day because we started at midnight. So I didn't need anything else. Didn't have pace, didn't have heart rate, didn't have just literally the profile of the route, which I would zoom in and out on to know where I was on a climb, and then how long I'd been going.
Yeah.
Just felt that worked a bit better for me. But I was quite conscious that I was taking a long time to get to where I'd got.
I think after I left you as well, you have got that descent into Hayder, but then you've got that really steep climb out, and that is probably the crux of the race for a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's you're staging the race there.
That's the marathon.
It's my route in reverse and the marathon route where it starts from.
Got you.
But it's a big pull out, and you've got that the heat of the kind of afternoon sun probably where it's strongest, and I think that broke a lot of people.
Like James has said, it gives you like an estimated time or something based on what you've been doing, and after that climb there, I was 20 minutes ahead of like the tracker's estimated time.
Yeah.
And that's just because I'd felt a lot better and felt good going up and stuff. And
definitely worth that sleep then.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And that's what I'd say to everyone. I was only 12 hours into the race, but I was 30 hours awake.
Yeah.
Technically,
that's true.
Bar the odd lie down on the bed, which I couldn't sleep on Friday afternoon. So in my head, I was thinking, I just need it now, and it caught up with me, which I'll cover. It did catch up with me.
After I saw you there and you went off, I went and had a steak and chips and a beer, and then I drove to Tuntay, had another beer. And then I walked up to see Josh Beaumont, who I was supporting in crewing. He was in the advance, so he'd sort of just come through before you at Artenera, and obviously he was in a short race, so he came through Tuntay like earlier. And as I was walking up, this is where I really started to notice the kind of Walking Dead scene that was happening and unfolding, because honestly there were people all over the place at that point. And that is when you come into Tuntay, you've essentially got like almost all downhill apart from one big climb over towards the res, but that is the crux of the race done there. But a lot of people are broken. Like I was just thinking, Jesus, how are they going to finish? Because it's a long way still from there.
It's a long way.
I saw this one guy who's a Brit, because he got his number, a name on his number, should I say. He's called Dean, and I could tell straight away the way that he was like military, this guy, and he was all over the place. Like I've never seen anybody look as rough in a race as what this guy Dean did. Honestly, he was in a bad way. He's a brummie as well.
If you've pushed yourself in that heat, as you know, you can have a rough night
that
night,
my
because
God.
your core temperature drops, you can't take on fuel, and all of a sudden, like you say, you're all over the place.
So I had a chat to him. He sounded like Mark Derbyshire because he was a brummie, and he wasn't really making much sense, to be honest. But I remember leaving that conversation thinking, I don't know if this guy's going to even make it to Tuntay. We're only like a mile away, and he was in that bad a state. I did offer him a little bit of water, but he'd got what he needed. But then it really, like, that was when it hit home to me, like, is anybody really enjoying this after those first few hundred? Because like, it didn't look like it to me. But I have to say, when I did eventually see you come through Tuntay, to be running all that time, and that was probably another 5 hours after that, you were in good spirits. Like, I've got to give it to Gary, because I've supported a lot of people on like BGs and some ultra running challenges, and when it gets to that graveyard shift, sometimes there's no conversation there. You are dealing with fucking zombies, if I'm totally honest, and you've got to try and uplift them. I didn't have to do that with you. I mean, you'd already seen Rich and Tom, which probably lifted your spirits anyway, but you were in a great place.
No, like, seeing you after them, that's what lifted my spirits.
Somebody normal.
I thought I was having a nightmare. If I'd been asleep on the trail for an hour. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
No, at that point it was, and where's that checkpoint where the marathon starts? Because I get mixed up.
So to Hayder.
So I got into Hayder, and I'd got hot again at that point, but manageable, and I was okay. Saw James, and he'd fed me, and he got me a burger and stuff, and I ate the burger fine, and so I was eating really well, to be honest, considering. I wouldn't usually smash a burger, to be honest, in those kind of cases, but I took on the burger, and I remember him telling me there's only, I think he said there's 400 meters or something on this climb out. It's like 900 meters or something.
It's a right climb.
Because you drop down first as well, so we're dropping down, and I was like, he's just told me we only got like a little climb up there. Anyway, drop down and down and down, then start climbing again, and the sleep started to, it did come in a little bit, and I start questioning myself, do I have another sleep or not? Anyway, I pushed on to see James at the top, and it was, I'm glad I pushed on in the end, because I think it was the heat and just constant heat all day, which sounds like we're banging on. It's not that hot, 25 degrees or whatever it was, but when there's no water around,
you feel the heat off the ground as well,
and it's
when
just
you're exposed.
rock.
Yeah, you feel
I
the heat off the ground.
understand why
Definitely.
people were saying it felt a lot hotter, because it kind of did to a certain degree. And anyway, as soon as the sun went behind one of the hills to the right of me, it was like I'd had a rocket up my arse. It was so, honestly, this last 2/3 of that climb again was really good, because again, at that point, I'm climbing past people.
Yeah, that's got to feel good as well.
It did feel good, yeah. And obviously, like you say, some of them are like zombies at this point, and I'm thinking, how the fuck are you going to get to the finish? But I'm still thinking, actually, in terms of cut-offs, I didn't have like hours in the bank either. I had to keep moving. But yeah, getting to that checkpoint up at James, which was the highest point of the course, and the sun had just gone down. Amazing views just as the sun was going down. I didn't stop, to be honest. There was a queue of people taking pictures of the
Recount.
Yeah. But round the corner there's a photographer and stuff, and so that's obviously the iconic shot everyone has. But I just had the bit between my teeth and I thought, I'm just going to get into this checkpoint. So it was another 10 minutes worth of hiking. Again, ran into James and just felt good at that point. Didn't really want to stop too long, but you're also wary. I've still got a long way to go, so I've got to refuel. The problem I was having is as soon as I stopped, I was getting cold quite quick.
Yeah.
But I'd quickly learnt, right, just chuck a jacket on while I'm eating
that
my
little
food.
Montane Fireball you had on was mega, wasn't it? It's
yeah,
a great little
exactly.
piece
Yeah.
of kit,
So James had that in my crew bag, and I would literally throw that in the crew points at the checkpoint while I ate some food. There was good food laid on, to be honest, at those later checkpoints for hot food. I was having soup and bread. That was my go-to.
Still good that you're eating at that stage as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it sounds like I've been eating really well, and I was, but again, the intensity was a little bit lower for me overall than sometimes it would. I've been in those positions where I've pushed hard on a similar kind of race, and then my stomach goes because of the intensity, and I can't eat, so I'm reliant on sucking on gel for an hour or something. So it might sound like I've nailed it, but I think part of that was just down to keeping the intensity low in the first half. But yeah, soup and roll did me really well, just in terms of filling me up a bit, and then I was still necking gels at that point and
That's
chews, to be honest. So left James on the long. Now it's net downhill essentially, but
Is this where you saw Tom and Rich then?
So there's I wasn't prepared for how long this downhill was.
Yeah.
And it was, I was feeling really drowsy at that point, to be honest. So I was 4K, I think, from the checkpoint, they said.
Yeah, because this is where my race came up, you see.
Yeah,
this is my first climb that you were essentially coming down.
Up,
Yeah.
and it was, when I say a long downhill, it's that weird, like, it was like cobbled almost.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I couldn't really get myself into a rhythm. At that point, my legs did feel a bit trash just from deconditioning and stuff. But my quads were absolutely fine. So it's weird. My hamstrings were aching a bit. And once you shorten your gait up in those races and I'm just losing a bit of energy, the hamstrings are working as more of a break. So I was a bit conscious of that. I'm thinking...
Do you use your poles on the way down?
Some sections I did. On that I didn't, because it was that kind of stuff where you could get your poles in and just get them stuck too easy.
Yeah.
So I was just, you know what it's like. I could trot down that very, like, shortened up gait quicker than most people running down.
You dropped Tom coming down, didn't you, after you'd seen
Well, that's it. Well, I come round, it's pitch black now.
Yeah.
And I'm going through the crowd of people. Nice wide path, to be honest, but it was just, I could just drop without thinking it quicker than other people could, because, like you said, some of them are zombies by now. I wasn't going particularly fast, but I'm dropping down. And at some point, it was like some fucker was like lamping out for rabbits or something in the corner. And it's like, I'm literally blinded. And it's just Tom stood there, but Rich with his lamping light. So, I don't know how, he's obviously blinded about 500 people before me. But that was Rich and Tom up on the hill. So that was good to see them.
Yeah.
I wasn't 100% sure the rules and everything with pacing and stuff like this, and I just thought, like, just...
You had a little entourage at that point, didn't you? Because I then came out and met you, didn't I, with my Barnsley briefcase, bag full of goodies,
yeah.
crisps and drinks and stuff.
So we ran down, and obviously it was good to have a chat to them, to be honest, but like the first thing he said to me was some story that, well, I'll let them explain the story they told me. We've got some messages from them.
Horrible out there. Horrible. You take the boys out of Sheffield.
I've been out for, I don't know, I've been out in the race now for 16 hours plus. I don't even know. I was a long time, yeah. And I was borderline falling asleep. Tom comes to me with some fucking story. And I'm just trying to get into this checkpoint. Anyway, they're talking between themselves and I'm talking. It was good to have them on the way down. But at one point, I did drop. I mean, they could have caught up, but I just, at that point, if I get a bit of energy, I'm using it. If I feel good, I'm using it. There was a couple of times where going in, like a couple of Ks out, I'd be able to push on a bit. Yeah. And it's like I knew enough to know that I can just push on. When I got into that checkpoint and saw you just before the checkpoint, I was really conscious my gait had really shortened up then. My leg was hurting, like the affected leg. It was hurting, but hurting like I've been in a race.
Yeah.
So I just, at that point, it was a bit like gritting your teeth and just a bit like ultra shuffling along at that point, but I was still moving and felt okay enough.
I think at that point you had gone almost 24 hours running when we got into that checkpoint and came out of it, because we did a couple of miles together after that checkpoint at Tunte, and from there you've got to climb up and then you're down to a reservoir and then you're essentially on the run in, really. You've got about 10 miles to go. And it's I do love supporting those kind of races, because when you're sort of running at that time of night, it feels a little bit naughty, doesn't it? Like it feels everyone else is in bed and you're out and you're having a bit of crack with your mates. I know you probably weren't having the same fun that we were having, because you'd obviously just been running for 24 hours. But it was a nice moment, wasn't it? We were all together, we were just chatting.
Like sat in the dugout and having a laugh with everyone. Yeah. Well, I thought I was having a laugh.
Oh, it was great, mate. Yeah,
I was conscious I couldn't wait too long, but I need those sit downs and take on. I was eating crisps and like you lot, although we were having a laugh, you were refilling water or checking I was all right. And
I was mainly just eating all your food, a surplus food, but
just in good spirits, to be honest.
It was good.
You can tell Ben hasn't done these races like he turned. I've been on my feet for 24 hours, and he turned up with this random bag of stuff like I was just out for a picnic on a date. It was like, I'm not stomaching that now, mate.
On the picture I saw, Ben was eating it in front of you, which I thought was a bit mean.
Yeah, well, I thought he'd want them, but he didn't. Yeah, I'd bought a big bag.
I felt really bad because he turned up with his big bag of. He was, not Angelos with his bag. It was
a Barnsley briefcase. Just a white carrier bag, just full of like stuff.
Remind me what was in it.
Well, the only thing you'd asked me for was Fanta lemon.
Fanta, yeah.
And I grabbed what I thought was a Fanta lemon in the petrol station, and it was a can of fucking tonic water. So I didn't even got that right. So I pulled it out. I was like, actually, it's not. And I built it up. I said, I've got you this can of Fanta lemon. Right, he went, get it out then. So I got it out, and I was like, actually, mate, I'm really sorry. That Fanta lemon that I promised you.
No gin either, just tonic water.
And that all he wants is his San Pellegrino, right?
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
Well, James had
I did
me
actually
out
bring
with
some sparkling water, and I knew he'd got some, so he was sorted on that front. And then I brought some crisps, and because he wasn't eating them, I just thought, well, I don't want to see them go to waste, so I started eating them. I brought Tom a beer as well, didn't I? Do you remember?
Yeah, he wasn't happy about that.
Yeah.
What is one beer?
Is one beer, yeah.
But that section was obviously good, and then you hiked out for a bit with me, and that was good. But I was conscious of like it's going to be a bit of a grind here, because I could feel the lights going out in my eyes.
Yeah.
And it was good having you about, but at the same time, it was like, I think it's just going to be a slog for me, mate.
Yeah, and I think as well, like I was conscious that there were quite a lot of other runners around, and there were kind of 5 of us, and we were walking up and just having
because I was in good spirits.
Yeah, you were in great spirits. It was just 5 mates,
and I would have happily
having a jog together.
Had you there for the whole thing if you wanted to walk it out, kind of thing. But at the same time, yeah, like you say, as soon as you left, I was in and around people that were
you're in the death zone with other people. Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, so you go up that long climb, and I climbed it all right, but just it was almost like I say, I'd just been awake too long. That's the best way I can describe it. There's not many races where I've been into the second night, so it was going into the second night, I guess. But being up so long, I don't even know how long I've been awake. I was conscious if I'd have had another sleep, another 12-minute job, I think I'd have finished a good chunk of time ahead.
You reckon? You should have probably got right down
because
there,
but my battery had gone on my phone, so I couldn't risk just going off the trail in pitch black and putting my head down. Fucking Christ knows how long I'd have slept. Or
found you on Monday morning.
It's not
showering,
it's not fair on the race. Mate. It's not. I mean, imagine the story if we'd have been sat here. Yeah, I just went to sleep and I woke up 10 hours later and everyone had packed up and gone. All sorts was going through my head, but at the same time, when I got up over that climb, it's like a wide path to run down, essentially, really long downhill. And I was having like micro sleep, so I was trotting down, and I did have what was sending me to sleep after I saw you was
our podcast. Were you listening to that?
Was having the poles tapping away on the bloody tarmac. I'm sure
it's a nice little rhythm.
It was just sending me to sleep, so I put them away. That helped a little bit, and then I knew I'd be all right for water-wise, so I used one of the bottles to literally. I was chucking it on my eyes, I was chucking it on the back of my neck. I just couldn't wake myself up, and then on the descent on the way down, I was like trotting down the left, and then I would wake up on the right.
Yeah, was it like having the barriers up when you're bowling, and you just bouncing from one side to another?
Yeah, I'd grabbed the cactus. I'd done all like I'd just literally fallen asleep on these, and it was a bit sketchy at some points because, again, I'm stuck in two minds now. Do I try and push on, or do I have a lie down? I just didn't know what to do, and I had no battery on my phone, so. I just had to do the best I could and just hope that I get there. And a lot of it, I started walking rather than trotting because I kept, like I said, I was literally just running down, not knowing how far I'd been. Then I got a little bit of a second wind going into the last checkpoint. Again, the climb on the way out just put me to sleep again.
Had you felt your injury at any point? Like, was that in the back of your mind?
I had some pain in that calf, and I've not had any pain since, so I just put it down to it being in the race. And remember, like, half the calf is working, half the calf is just not working. But it was good to feel, if anything, it was good to have those. I had like in-race DOMs of the effort level.
Yeah.
No issues with my quads. I did have a few aches and pains in my hamstrings, like I said, my arms more than anything because of being on the poles for so long. But yeah, by the time I was just desperate to get to the riverbed.
Yeah. That's the end is near, don't you?
The downhill into that, it's not, for me, it's not technical, but it was technical enough. I was starting to trip over and stuff now. I'm blaming the shoes and everything. It's nothing to do with shoes. I'm falling asleep.
Yeah.
I said to you lot at the end, and once I got to that descent, and again, you could see some head torches in that riverbed that everyone bangs on about is technical and horrible and stuff. And I'm sure it feels horrible in the heat. But because I had to concentrate enough, I could run along then. I ran, albeit slowly, from all the way along the riverbed
until the end
to the finish. And I was moving slow, but everyone at that point was essentially walking through that.
Yeah,
so I'm not walking through this; take forever. So if anything, the concentration level it took to just run through it helped me stay awake. And again, the only bit of time where I thought I was going to fall asleep again was the bit where you come under the North Face Arch and there's still a mile to go to the bloody thing, but now I'm on the flat.
Yeah.
And then I was just looking at I looked at the profile and knew there's no climbing, no descent, so I'm going to be safe now. I'm not going to kill myself by falling asleep. And there was enough people I was just using them as just picking the odd one off because some were trotting along, but a lot of them were just walking it in now. And so I just ran the last mile very slowly and then saw Gilly running over a bridge. Gary! And I was, don't get me wrong, it makes it sound like I was just trotting it in. I was done in terms of just, I think, sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
Like when I got in.
At this point, you've done 29 hours, haven't you? Is
that
right?
Yeah, 28 hours 40 I finished in. So, yeah, coming along that riverbed, 28 hours in. Yeah, 28 hours in from midnight, and I'd already been awake for 16, 17, 18 hours.
Because we went back and we got 4 hours kip, and then we'd set our alarms and came and met you. I tell you what, mate, it was obviously a massive moment for you, but like I felt like it was a pleasure to be there to celebrate with you.
Yeah, and
it was a special moment.
Part of me was conscious that lads can't have a beer properly and all that kind of thing. But again, it's like it was good having you all there at the finish.
Oh, it was great. I think when you set off,
you didn't seem in too much of a rush afterwards either. So I thought, like, I'm obviously happy to be it.
I think when you're at the start with you, and then you sort of see mid race, and we were crewing you in a sense, because I was crewing Josh as well, but then I switched it to you once he'd finished. And when you're part of something big like that, it's really special to see you finish, and then knowing what you've been through the last 2 years. Like, I felt like really emotional at the end. I was so chuffed for you, mate.
Yeah, I was really happy. I was really chuffed, and like you say, look, I didn't care about the time or anything like that. The only bit I knew, like going through that riverbed, was actually quite nice. I knew it's still going to take me a while because of the distance, and I was moving slow. But I was like, I've done it. Nothing's not. Even if I had to walk over now, time-wise, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say relaxed, but yeah, it was. And then I was thinking, I wonder if I knew James would be there. I was like, I wonder if the lads have just gone to bed.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When that alarm went off at like 4:30 in the morning, I thought, "Fuck this!" But
Yeah, yeah.
I actually got up and
So did I.
set up, yeah, no.
When I was on the mountain.
But no, it was nice to be. I'm glad I didn't miss it because it was amazing, mate. And I thought, you know what, you sleep when you're dead, can't you? Like, I'll get.
Yeah,
some
it was
kit the next
good.
day,
It was really good having you lot there, and we just had a bit. It was quite relaxed, wasn't it? We had a
Yeah.
good chat, and like
We had a beer at the
I felt
end.
like I was in good
Yeah.
spirits still, but I was knackered. I was so knackered.
That really was a war zone at the end, wasn't it? As
Yeah.
well? Like when the
Yeah.
bodies everywhere weren't there at the finish. We were sort of sat under the finishing tent. You were sat down. It got quite cold as well at one point, didn't it?
Yeah, you had to wrap me up and everything. My body temp dropped quite quick, so
and
I
tried
had
to get
everyone's
some
coats
food
on
down,
and
didn't
stuff.
you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a cheese butty, got my jacket.
I tell you what, as well, that I noticed is I did a little bit of minesweeping at that point because there's so many like gels and stuff around and like cans of this and packets of that. I pretty much like fill my pockets, like just from an entrepreneurial point of view. Like I'm stocked up now for the rest of the year. I think.
I don't know. I
There's
can't
loads of
remember
stuff I got my
one of the
hands on.
sponsors, 3360 or something like that. Don't you might know? But anyway, they had these gels on the checkpoint. Not gels, like jelly blocks almost, and it was like pure caffeine, so they were really good. I'm gonna have to look them up.
They kept you going.
But you're right. On the last checkpoint, I shoved 6 of them in my backpack, and so I took them home. So I don't mind carrying an extra bit of weight. I've never seen them before, so I literally took them and stuck them in my backpack. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I did nick off you as well, and I didn't tell you, but I wanted to try one. It probably like ruined your race. One of those ginger shot things, you know, those you told me about them.
Oh, the caffeine bullets,
caffeine
but
bullets,
like ginger raws,
Ginger raws, that's
they
it,
were
yeah.
James's actually.
Oh, so good, yeah. Sorry, James.
They were good though, weren't they?
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
We'll have to maybe get him to send us some.
No, they were nice. But mate, what an achievement! You did it. You made it.
I nearly didn't make it down off that step, did I? So we finished the race, Chris, and then we were like, we're going for a sit down round the corner.
It was like an assault course, wasn't it?
And
That's all I can describe it. Yeah.
All of a sudden, once I finished, my legs it was
like
my body
Ninja
just
Warrior,
didn't want to do
wasn't it? It was like
anything.
an episode of Ninja Warrior trying to get to the marquee where you can actually collect your medal and
we took
everything.
a shortcut, and there's like a drop down. How high, puppy?
Oh, it's good for your feet.
A couple of feet, but obviously you just drop down. I could not get down. It's just,
I've got the video actually on my phone.
I've got the video as well.
I'll have to post that because it is really funny.
Well, we can put some stuff on the RUNcensored podcast. We'll probably Instagram.
Yeah.
There's also some pretty brutal photos of Gary at the finish. I mean,
Yeah.
if you didn't know him, I don't think you'd recognise him.
No, it was a bit of a ghost, wasn't he?
They weren't the finish, those ones, but yeah. We've
got some great BTS footage, aren't we? So I'll get that in your
Definitely.
hands, Chris, because there's some funny ones. And also, we've got to include, and just going off from your race now, but Rich Gill did the marathon, and when he finished, he thought he'd finished, he finished on the corner, didn't he? Running, where he saw you. And it wasn't the end of the race. He stopped his watch, came through the finish line, punched the air, and he still had another 50 metres to go.
Oh, he's giving it the full
videos.
celebration because he'd seen me out with the camera. But yeah, you're right, because it does a full 90-degree turn at the finish. He's finished, stopped his watch, and I'm going, Rich, that's not the finish line.
And you recorded it, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's on his Instagram, actually. So Rich Gill, Gilly Photography, you've got to watch it. It's absolutely brilliant.
We'll do a post, which is kind of like our highlights and BTS on the RUNcensored Instagram when the podcast live. So head over to our Instagram page, and we'll some of these things that we're talking about, we'll get them up on there.
100%.
But that is a great finish line when he doesn't actually finish. It's so
class
funny.
one.
Yeah, he wasn't the only one. I'll give him that to do that. Yeah,
what a cruel finish. But that finish, and then your getting off the step was hilarious. But yeah, mate, massive achievement. Dead proud of you. So well done.
Yeah, it was good. And then I guess we finished, went back, and I had a few hours kip, and then we had that Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. That was a good way to finish, wasn't it? A few beers on
I
the
went
Sunday
to the prize giving because I could have slept all day, but slept for a few hours and then went to the prize giving with James because then I could meet up with Mark Derbyshire, Andy Berry, Gavin Dale.
It was like the best of British and me.
Good, yeah.
In that bar.
went for some food with them afterwards, but all of us were tired. They'd obviously done a lot in their races and stuff, which we'll hear from. And then had another sleep, and then we went out for some beers in the evening.
Good way to end the trip, wasn't it?
Fantastic, mate. Yeah.
Casino till 2:30 and then back to normality, mate.
Yeah, I
Centre
blame
Park
Mark
for the kids.
Derbyshire for that one. We had some beers in the evening, so it was Best of British was out, and Ben. So everyone was out. It was good crack, and then everyone started making their way off. And just on the way home, James wanted to as well. Let's go in the casino, and we had visions of playing proper cards or blackjack or something. And it wasn't really like that because we didn't have our IDs with us. You had to just play on the bloody games. Yeah, we were in there till 2:30, I think we got home. And yeah, that night I was in Centre Park for 9 p.m. Yeah.
Wow, that was an ultra event in itself, isn't it? That 24 hours
so
after.
That explains why, despite me sending all the podcast gear out to Spain, you didn't record a podcast and we're sat here a week afterwards.
Well, we only had Sunday to do it.
That's sort of why, yeah.
And I was, honestly, I was like, you can ask James, I was bloody useless at the meal. Like, given what time did we get back? 6 in the morning or something daft like that? Anyway, I was out for the prize giving at midday, falling asleep in the hall. Like Andy got up and got his prize and stuff. It was good to see a prize giving because I'd not really done that stuff before, and good to catch up with them. But
I'm not sure we'd have got the best of Gary.
I had a beer with the meal, and I was literally going to James, I need to go back, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in the running kind of fraternity and stuff, but these people that organise these award ceremonies for you runners don't really think about them too much, do we? Thinking back to the one that Gary won that he didn't know about, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's a pattern emerging here, isn't there?
Yeah.
By the way, I brought that trophy back for you. Left it at my house.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's on there. There you go. Don't forget it. Were you wondering where it was?
No, I forgot about it.
I've been telling everyone it was mine.
Yeah. Well, the kids will be happy.
Do you think, Gary, we should finish by going through a few sound bites from some of the crew that were there?
Definitely.
Yeah. So let's. We've got. We'll go for Tom first, I think. Should we?
Should we start with? Yeah, go on. Go with Tom.
Let's go with Tom first. So Tom did the promo race, and he had a great race. I just got to mention it because he was an unknown for Tom. We've been giving him tips. You've been doing a little bit of coaching on the side of him, just kind of giving him some pointers loosely.
Was this the one that you entered him in the very first podcast?
Yeah, well, he got an entry through the North Face. He came out as part of our team. So the promo was 12k with a lot of uphill. It's a tasty course. In fact, it's the section where I saw Gary and I ran it, most of it in reverse. Beautiful, beautiful race. I might do it next year, actually. And he was first Brit back.
First Brit.
Yeah. Which he's been proudly telling
well
people. Well done, Tom. 51st overall, which I think is a sterling effort.
I've not heard these, so God knows.
And he survived. So this is Tom's account.
If you can't remember Tom, you'll have to go back to one of our Christmas episodes, wasn't it? So
the Carl Pilkington of the pod.
Yeah,
Here
yeah.
we go.
Well, what can I say? Just a quick summary from me while I do the ironing, because I'm in the office tomorrow. Firstly, just about my race, I suppose. What did I learn? It's not as hard as you think. I could probably do another one. Got a bit of a taste of it. Couple of things. Well, I guess definitely don't drink the night before is probably a top idea. Hills abroad are sort of shitter than they are at home.
What is? Hills abroad is shitter than they are at home.
Downhill is worse than running uphill. And if you do run downhill, take the piss out of someone you've overtaken, 100% make sure that they can't then overtake you on the flat bit. Just pretty mortifying if it happens. Start closest to the front. I made a bit of a boo-boo, needed a piss, started at the back. Had to sort of try and jostle past 250 odd people to get a bit closer to the front. Realised I carried loads of shit I didn't need. All the people that were quicker weren't carrying any of that shit either, so I guess the kit list thing's a bit of bullshit. But yeah, pretty good. Really enjoyable experience. Would highly recommend.
And it goes on. There's another section to Tom's.
Was
Cheers.
Like the mandatory kit list, I'm sure you could just put it in his bum bag.
TDC week, in fairness, or 5 days, is pretty hard to summarise in a few minutes. But essentially, pretty good experience. Watching the elite guys, just sort of mind blowing of how long and far they've actually gone at a pretty impressive pace. Getting sort of further down the field, pretty wild seeing the sort of shit that goes on there. Probably learn not to ask people after they've been awake for 20 hours if they're all right. You don't really want to know. It's just a sort of nicety, but they actually tell you if they're not all right. And there's not a lot you can do about it. Gary, when I saw him after being awake for 20 hours, probably thought I'd get a bit more of a reaction from him after all the shit I'd been through, sort of literally. Being out there to see him. Good time with Rich Gill. Probably needs to change his diet, I'd say. I had less protein, change the sort of shit that's going into him. But yeah, really good. Super proud of Gary. Yeah, really impressive achievement. Not too much more I can say in it, to be honest. I feel like it was months and months ago now, but I'm sure someone else can remind me what happened on the Friday. But yeah, cheers.
He's not wrong, is he? Rich Gill is a smelly little fucker.
I forgot to mention that. As soon as we started, I mean, I couldn't run fast down that hill with him, but literally as soon as we started moving, he starts dropping his load. So it's like, just honestly, yeah, I mean, let's say there was a lot of either aftershave or BO smells in that race anyway. And then when I got to him, it got worse.
Is it worth listening to Rich's account now, do you think?
Yeah, let's go with Rich.
Just to
and then we'll go with the elites.
Then we'll go with the elites.
Hello, Rich Gill here, summarising the week at Trans Gran Canaria. Firstly, sunshine in February is an absolute must. So if you're thinking about entering one of the races next year, firstly, sun in February, it's a perfect climate. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Superb races, 4 different categories to race, distances, and our team raced, I think covered all of them. So it was amazing just seeing everybody tackle those from the VK right up to the classic 126k race. For me, doing the marathon, 47k, I think it was 1700 metres. I think my favourite part out of that was just the route, the incredible route. Scenes were breathtaking, and I managed to make sure that I looked up and took it all in. And yeah, no, I was really pleased with how it went, apart from the finish line, which seems to have been documented pretty well, and it's quite funny. Oh my God, the false finish line, and yeah, here's me putting my arms up saying, oh yeah, I finished, when I've actually got another 50 metres to go around the corner. There you go.
And there's just a part 2 as well for Rich. Sorry, Chris.
Just like to add a story about a momentous and unforgettable race from the one and only Gary House. Seeing him complete his first race finish line in 2 years. He wasn't able to even potentially run a year ago, with the news of his injury, and to see him get through the 126-kilometre classic race was unforgettable. So, honestly, awe-inspiring stuff. And it was ace because me and Tom Kane went for a hike up to try and catch him at about the 100k mark, right on the tops. We were a bit ill-prepared, actually, because we didn't have a head torch or anything. But luckily, I found a big lamp in my camera bag. And we were just on the tops.
Chasing
rabbits. The sun went down and the lights coming off the mountains as runners descended slowly, tapping the sticks. It was beautiful. It wasn't cold, and yeah, we're just shouting, Gary, where are you, Gary? Come on, hurry up, fucking hungry. But yeah, he made it to us. But a good little story from that. Tom got to the point where we were out for so long. Tom went, Rich, can I borrow those wet wipes that you've got in your bag? I went, yeah. Go on, off you go. Clearly needed a number 2. Just nipped over the hill. 5 minutes later, and I gave him them all, or a lot, should I say. He came back 5 minutes later, and he goes, Rich, you got any more wet wipes? I went, what? I have stood in my own shit. So that was a story that seemed to linger for the rest of the bloodshed, tears, shit, the lot for you, Gary, on that race. But yeah, I was seeing some other friends on that route as well, Elise, Duque, as we were waiting. So yeah, epic week, and big up North Face. The North Face are putting on a tremendous event.
It's probably worth saying. Sorry about that, but Tom, Rich must record that on a Nokia 3210. So sorry about the audio there, but I think we got the gist of the story, right?
Rich's Nokia Ringo.
Yeah.
Horrible men out of those two. Horrible.
Tom nipped off and shit on himself then. We have got some more exciting updates now, though. So, yeah, like I mentioned, I went for lunch with Andy Berry, Mark Derbyshire, Gavin Dale, James Elson, Rye Webb, not forgetting Rye Webb. So that was good on the Sunday, but I've got some insight from their races. So I said, make it 10 seconds, make it as long as you want. Andy, in true Andy style, has been short and to the point with his. We'll go with Andy first, I think.
Morning, guys. Trans Gran Canaria in around 30 seconds. Front of the field went off like the mums had just called them in for their teas. Pretty much what I was expecting, but still crazy to see how fast they go at the start. Built into my race, it's still pretty baffling to me to go past the likes of Pau Capel and legends like that. But amazing night. Built into the day. Turns out if you don't drink enough, you get really dehydrated. Threw myself on the floor in the riverbed in the last 8K and managed to finish in the top 10 just about. Great experience. Awesome to see you guys out there. Catch you later.
Love
Good
it.
lad, Andy.
That's
top
a
10
good
is
review
amazing.
from, top 10, 9th position. Sums it up in 30 seconds, unlike the other two numbnuts. What he didn't mention is he's got, you see the gash on his arm, he had a couple of stitches on his arm. So
Likes to be in the walls, doesn't he?
Yeah. Great performance from Andy, and I'm looking forward to see what he does in the next few months.
Yeah, some big potential there.
Exactly, yeah. Who else do we have next? Gavin? Oh no, Mark, because he was on the advanced, and we'll finish with
Mark
Gavin.
Derbyshire,
maybe.
what a legend he is. Shout out to his mum as well, who does all his crewing. She's a legend as well.
Yeah. So Mark was out with family as always. But what was amazing about Mark's race is that he didn't land until about 2:00, I think.
I saw him at 6 getting his number.
That's right. So bear in mind we were off at midnight. He landed at 2:30, and so good on him.
The people's champion, Mark, isn't he?
Yeah. If you don't know Mark, then
you don't know ultra running, do you?
Exactly. Here we go.
My Trans Gran Canaria 2025 experience. Definitely a massive improvement from 2019, which is my first experience of racing abroad. I was shocked by the intensity of it, struggled in the heat, and wasn't properly prepared for the technical downhills. I'd like to think I've improved a fair bit since then. I was hoping for a top 10 finish in something around 14 and a half hours. Training has gone well with plenty of long, fun days out in the mountains and some new heat sessions thrown in. My plan this year was to try and stay calm at the start, which is basically a 5K sprint along the beach, and hopefully be strong for the finish. It didn't quite go to plan. I set off like a rocket, then suffered the consequences later on. Stomach issues and a strange sleepiness took hold. I think I was tired from travelling on Friday morning. Not having much annual leave left, I decided to have a few days after the race, lounging around in the sunshine. The journey could have been worse. I remember last time flying to Gran Canaria, I was sat in the middle of a chanting stag party. So thankfully this time I didn't get that, but still, it's not ideal flying the morning of a race. I think I was in 66th position by the time I'd stumbled into Artenara, which is around 70 kilometres into the race. If I'm honest, I'd wanted to sack it off multiple times, but never felt quite bad enough to actually stop. Once the sun came out, I had a bit of breakfast.
Andy Berry ringing me. Sorry, everyone.
Interrupting Mark. The race and basically stopped feeling miserable and sorry for myself. The lush scenery certainly helped. The views of Roque Newbury, cloud inversions, and Mount Teide on Tenerife were absolutely amazing. Certainly made you want to carry on with the race, even if things aren't going to plan. As the day went on, I steadily picked people off and felt stronger and stronger, crossing the finish line in 13th position. It felt much better than a DNF, and I'm pretty chuffed I managed to turn such a poor race experience into something positive, which hopefully I'll be able to use in other races if I have those sort of troubles. It was great to catch up with so many old friends and make a few new ones after the race. If you're looking for a bit of post-race socialising, Trans Gran Canaria is brilliant.
Casino.
My top tips for the race are to start slowly. 80 miles is a long way. There's lots of time to build into the race. Heat train. For obvious reasons, you're going from the UK winter. You're lucky if it's 10 degrees to 25, 26 degrees. If you're not trained specifically for that, it's going to come as a shock. Get some long technical downhills in on hard ground to help strengthen the quads. I know it's quite hard in the UK to get this, but it'll pay off, because then some of the downhills in the second part of the race go on for miles. Practice with poles. There's nearly 7,000 meters in the race. Lots of climbing. If you can get out with the poles, it'll certainly help. Have fun after the race, but don't take shortcuts through the dunes. You don't know what you might bump into. We made this mistake of stumbling across the dunes and got an eyeful. I'm looking forward to returning next year, hopefully an improved race, but also to relax in the sun again after a long, hard English winter. It's a great place to take the family. It's a great place to go with friends. So yeah, I'll be back next year. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Mark.
Top man, that's good, isn't it? 66th to 12th.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so 13th, sorry. Wow.
Yeah, I think he's openly said, he said to me and James that he basically took on a lot of caffeine, and that played with his stomach. So I can imagine he must have felt like shit being in 66th. That's not where Mark Derbyshire should be. So
came back from the dead, though, didn't he?
To pull it round. And I spoke to Rye Webb the next day as well, as we were walking back for food, and he said at one point Mark just came up behind him on the hill. This is in the second half, he's grunting and pop, and he was like absolutely steaming through the field. So
wow,
like as Mark was saying, he had a lot of fun, because obviously those lads still top 50 is still amazing. They're still moving, so to say, they must have thought, who the hell is this charging, like going through from 66 to 13?
Yeah.
Like,
they probably thought it was in the advance.
Well, they probably thought he's not going to finish just because he at that pace and effort. But yeah, obviously having a great second half. I'm sure he must feel. I know he did feel a lot better about it. Easy to bin a race when you're that level of runner.
Yeah, respect for him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he said, feels much better than a DNF. I imagine that will put him in good stead in the future, because there'll be times where he might feel like that, but he's not far off the lead.
Yeah,
and
he knows he can pull it back.
Exactly. Yeah, and for those lads, like he was 13th, Andy was 9th. Great to see Andy on the stage picking up his bag of gels. Like the last thing you need is he's literally, because of the sponsors, he stood there with a big bag of gels. It's just good to hear from those lads. We've got one more.
And somebody else, who had a good run.
We've got Gavin Dale. Obviously, I'd class him as he's still up and coming, isn't he? Still
He's reasonably new to the scene, but he's an elite runner already. He's a great guy as well. Humble. Talented, and had a fantastic race.
Really, really good to spend some time with him afterwards, because I've not met him in person. Met the other lads, but just a talented guy. And Gavin was in the advanced race, which was 80k roughly.
Yeah.
Have a look.
Hey Gary, cheers for the invite to be on. Had a good time out in Gran Canaria. I was staying with Mark and Andy, so that was nice just to be with them and see them getting all prepped up for the classic. I did the advanced, the 82k, which I didn't realise before I signed up was net downhill, and as an uphill runner that was slightly disappointing. And I started heat training 1 week beforehand and did 2 sessions, so didn't actually properly heat train for it at all. And coming from the Lake District, it was definitely a lot hotter. But yeah, had a good kind of. I've still not quite got the 80k distance right, I would say. So personally, for me, kind of came away happy-ish, but would want to do better really at something like that. Like, so the first half of the race went pretty well. I kind of spent about 10 miles or so tucked in behind Roll, who went on to win it. But then, yeah, sort of came back from him a little bit into 4th place and then just dropped a few places. Sort of in the second half, I had a lovely moment halfway in where I had sort of cramp in both legs and a stitch and just couldn't move for a short time. Luckily, that did pass. But yeah, so sort of definitely found the heat a bit tricky, and also just was more runnable than I realised. Really, I think going into it, like a lot of it was sort of quite runnable trail of sort of wider tracks. A few technical sections, like a couple of kind of steeper climbs and a couple of technical downhills, which were fun. But a lot of it was, yeah, sort of big track and stuff, which the amount of running on it, I think, again, just caught me off guard a little bit, and it's not my strongest suit. I'm suited to kind of good big uphill hikes and stuff. So that I found trickier than I expected to. But I mean, I thought, stunning course and a really fun time out. I mean, it was literally Brits abroad. So really cool to see, particularly Andy and Josh doing so well in the classic. And yeah, I think for me, it's kind of, I'm on the fence about whether I'd go back to it. I think I would, if I went back now, I'd do a lot very differently in terms of preparing for it, and I'd probably move up and do the classic, and just do the full distance out there, and just, I think it'd be cool going back to it knowing what to expect. Whereas this time, yeah, it maybe caught me a little off guard, but always really fun just to go out against, the Europeans and get absolutely smashed to pieces essentially by them. I just wish it was a bit hotter in the lakes really, so I could train for that. But all in all, fun time out. And nice to get a bit of time in the pool afterwards as well. Oh, and I got a bucket hat. That was probably the highlight of my trip. Was I got out there, realised that it was a lot hotter than I had realised it was going to be, and that a cap wasn't going to cover it, quite literally. So I bought a cool bucket hat, and had a great time running in that.
Bless him. Lives a sheltered life, down in the lakes there. Bucket hat. No, I love Gavin. I'm only joking. Fantastic. I mean, some great performances there.
Yeah.
I also need to mention, where was Gavin actually? Was he 6th in the end?
8th in the end, I think.
Mean, fantastic. Yeah. And we haven't mentioned in the main race as well, John Alban, 2nd overall. He's British runner, and also our good mate Josh Wade, 3rd. What a performance that was. Incredible.
Yeah. I almost feel disappointed that I didn't get a chance to watch his race because I was so far behind in the actual race. But yeah, from what you said, and he went out. I like the fact that he's gone out and committed to giving that a go, like leading at certain points and all that kind of stuff. It's good to see, isn't it?
Mate, he's one of the best, is Josh. I just think he's just such a great guy. Really, really good guy. Dead down to earth, dead humble, as is John Alban as well. And Henrietta, she won the women's classic race as well. So what a performance from those two. Little shout out to my mate Puppy, who won the marathon. He's the man. And then to our team as well, Kirsty was first vet in the VK. Katie Brown was 13th in the half marathon. In the marathon, Ben Johnson made his debut. He did really well. He's our videographer. And then we also had Josh Beaumont in the advanced, and he had a good race as well, despite the fact he ended up in hospital having an ECG.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't very well at the end. But yeah.
Was he all right after it?
Yeah, he came round a little bit in the end, mate. Yeah, he was good. Once he'd been on the drip, he felt ready to go again, I think.
Yeah.
So no, what a week! It's been fantastic, hasn't it? Great.
It was good, mate.
Great experience.
It was. I'm getting stared at by the old window cleaner. Chris.
Yeah, so the window cleaners have just turned up, so if there's a bit of noise, but I think we're okay. Carry on, guys.
Yeah, it was a great week. I won't lie. There was a lot of relief at the end, knowing that I'd done it and everything. But yeah, as soon as I'd done it and we were cracking on the Sunday, it was just thoughts going on to the next thing, I guess, and
yeah,
seeing where things go.
What's next for you, Gary?
I'm gonna have another 2 years off, I think, mate. Seems it was good for the algorithms when I was here. Yeah, I've got some. Yeah. I don't know is the honest answer, right? Yeah. I've got a race penciled in at the end of September. We won't go into that yet, I don't think, because I'm going to see how things go.
Yeah.
But over the summer, I'm just looking forward to, you know what? Obviously, I missed last summer, and already now being up around where we are now, Llandegla, all the colours changing and stuff like that. I missed spring. I missed all the colours changing. I missed the running in the summer, all that stuff.
Nice time.
I'm just really looking forward to getting out and about, doing some running again, and hopefully things keep improving. But also just, again, I didn't get many days out with friends on the hill and stuff. So I'll just be looking to do that over the summer. I've not got any races planned or anything. I'll happily do that in the second half of the year, I think.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. And we'll probably be out in Chamonix at some point as well, won't we? Our second home.
Yeah, if any sponsors want to jump in and want to give me and Ben an away day, we'll happily cover your race. Or
producer available as well. You know,
obviously the producer, we need a producer and a cameraman and a fluffer. We need all. There'll be a gang of us. What about you? You'll be racing this weekend, I imagine.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have a nice weekend at home doing nothing, and then I'll probably pick up a few orienteering races. I think I've got massively into that, and then I'm going to go out and do the 25k from the Mont Blanc Marathon weekend as well with New Balance. So I'm looking forward to that. And in June, yeah. So I'm sure you'll probably be out there, won't you, at some point?
Do you know what? That's Mont Blanc Marathon when I was really fit at one stage, and I had an entry, and it was just before the lockdowns, and then it got moved, and then it got cancelled, and then I never took up the entry. But that's one I missed. But yeah, awesome route. I've done that route. Just being out there out of season actually. So yeah, you'll have a good one there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm back to our second home. Definitely, it'd be great. I forgot to mention as well, well done to Rich Gill and well done to Tom in the marathon and the promo respectively. Great performances from both those guys.
Yeah, everyone did really well. Like, I mean, joking aside, I just had one thing to do, go out there and get through that race, whereas all you lot did shorter races, but you were out and about, you were supporting, you were doing work, you were doing all stuff. It was, so well done to everyone out there. And I overall, I would highly recommend the group of races. I would just... If you're going to go into, particularly my race from experience, one, be aware of the amount of hard ground. That's, like I say, that's one did catch him off ground. A bit like with Gavin's race, caught him off ground, how runnable it was. It is very runnable if you're capable. If you're not capable, it's going to hit you hard on the amount of just hard ground, lack of water. And like Mr. D said, make sure you do a bit of heat training, I would, if you're going to target that race, because it will catch you out.
Definitely. And lastly, Gary, well done, mate. We're proud of you. It's good to see you back. I'm sure I speak on behalf of everybody when I say that. And looking forward to you back racing now, mate. So yeah, here's to the next one.
Here's to the next one, Ben.
So please like and subscribe as usual. Leave us a comments in the chats, Spotify, Apple, and obviously YouTube if you're watching. And without
share it
further
with your
ado,
running group friends as well. That's one thing that really helps, I've noticed.
Please share. And without further ado, we'll see you next Tuesday. Cheers, guys.
Let's just really hope we do get this out for Tuesday.
You need a piss.
Sorry, mate, I'm busting for a piss.
I thought you were about to go there.
How long do you think we went for? How long does it feel?
Do you know what? I was quite conscious that I'd been wanging on for a bit then. I don't know, an hour and 10?
We've just gone over 2 hours.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. We were 15 minutes of waffle before I told you it was ready to go. So, I mean, the podcast is at least an hour and 45.
Jesus.
I was going to say, like, do we split it or something? But I think it didn't feel very splittable at the hour part mark. So
no,
I think we just
put it out, mate.
This is just a long one.
Yeah, people are just going to have to put up with it. I think it's one of those. If me and Ben are chatting and it doesn't feel that long, then hopefully if people are listening, it doesn't feel that long.
I think if I'd have interjected, I think it would have changed the pace.
I couldn't get
it. The pace
couldn't have shortened
it
up that much, really, and it was important and it was good hearing from the other lads and stuff.